Okay, Game of the Year time. I could start out this video by saying, hey, 2019 was a great year for video games and a bad year for the world, but you already know that. Well, I would hope you already know that. I started out the year by getting 2/3 of the way through a 2018 Game of the Year list before deciding I didn't really agree with a lot of the picks anymore, and I didn't really like my voiceover, and I was in the process of moving, so I deleted it. That was a lot of time I wasted, so I'll give you the exclusive rundown right here. My Game of the Year 2018 list is this. It's Unist. It's Under Night, In-Birth, X Latest. Mika does the spin. Alright, listen, I've been putting off playing the Sakura Wars fan translation until I'm done with this video, so I'm just gonna cut the crap and get right to my... I love me some Persona. 4 and 5 specifically are some of my favorite games ever made. 3, I will get back to you. Naruto 2, I'm coming. Wait for me, buddy. And my love for that series is mostly based on characters I like hanging out. Talking about their problems, eating beef bowls, doing whatever the fuck that is. So when you tell me there's a game where the casts of Persona 4 and 5 and 3 are gonna get together and hang out some more, I'm like, awesome, dude, I'm there, let's go. Then you tell me it's about 60 hours long and came out in a year with a lot of video games, and I'm like, Then you tell me it's exclusively on the 3DS, and I'm like, So I didn't finish it. But I do feel like people who probably would appreciate this game in its entirety aren't talking about it. So I just want to put it out there. This thing isn't some tossed off cash grab. It's got tons of love put into it. It's super fun to play. The first 10 hours of this thing have some better character work than all of Persona 5. And the soundtrack is incredible. The song that plays in the hub is great, the intro is super underrated, and every single protagonist has their own battle theme. That's right, I'm talking about MC Ride, I'm talking about Charlie Tunoku, I'm talking about
Joker.
Ultra Kill is about 45 minutes long, and it's technically a demo for a game that hopefully isn't too far from coming out. There's really not much I want to say about it other than it's some of the coolest shit I've done in a shooter in a really long time. And you can play it for free right now. That's all I'm gonna say. I'll put the link in the description. If any of what you're seeing looks cool to you, check it out. Listen, violent video games are a hot topic, and I don't want to strike a nerve or anything. That said, if I saw my kid playing Blade and Sorcery, I would take their headset off and burn it. Anybody who plays this game is tainted by sin, which is probably why I've got dozens of hours in it. I can't stop killing. The blood won't come out of my clothes. Why won't the blood come out of my clothes? I've got a love-hate relationship with Corpse Party. That one specifically, not any of those. No, you get out of here. For all its problems, and trust me, there are a lot of those, there's some well-executed horror and genuinely compelling characters at the center of this complete mess of a storyline. Corpse Party 2, or the first episode of it, feels like it could potentially be a return to form. Clean slate, new characters, trim all the fat. I don't know how much I trust it. I want to have hope. Maybe I'll look back on this in a few years and I'll laugh at how naive I was. Maybe I'll be right. I don't know. But the one thing I do know is this. They really gotta cool it on the piss stuff, man. Like, what the fuck is up with that, dude? Here's the thing about VR games. Most of them still kind of feel like demos. There are exceptions for sure, but there aren't a lot of sprawling single-player games that merge all sorts of gameplay mechanics and have pacing and narratives. Boneworks isn't deep necessarily. It's pretty straightforward. There isn't too much in way of progression or story even really. But it's the first time VR's made me feel like I was on an adventure instead of just inhabiting a single scene. It's janky as hell for sure, like, don't get me wrong. There we go, I did it. But I think that works in its favor because it's so open and lets you approach encounters in so many different ways. You could just go in and shoot everybody, but have some imagination. Pick up a dumbbell and beat somebody to death with that. I don't know. I think some of the pacing is kind of iffy. It doesn't really all come together as well as it could at the end, but there are some really, really great moments sprinkled throughout this campaign. The genius of Sekiro Shadows Die Twice is that it plucks out the right aspects of the Dark Souls formula, while still allowing FromSoft some wiggle room to try some new stuff. It's slick, it's polished, it's got great combat, and I didn't finish it because I am bad at video games. EA's, Respawn's, Disney's Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, on the other hand, is Sekiro for people like me. Stupid babies. That's not to say it's not still hard. It's really hard. I'm surprised at how hard it is. I thought they would have dumbed it down way more than they did. It's got some Uncharted, and it's got some Metroid, and it's got some Dark Souls, and that sort of focus testy vibe combined with the fact that it's part of one of the most boring and stagnant media properties currently coming out made me think this game was going to be completely soulless. But it somehow totally avoids that. It's got heart. It's got great storytelling. And it's got goofy-ass aliens, which is the one thing I still like about Star Wars. If I haven't made it clear already, charm goes a long way in a game for me. I like fun characters and crazy locations and just a strong sense of personality. And personality is like the #1 asset Indivisible has. There's personality oozing from the animations and the locations and the gyrations. It's got a lot of charm is what I'm trying to say. There's all kinds of fun Metroidvania type traversal abilities, and the story is actually surprisingly compelling, but I think the combat is really the high point of this thing. It's just a lot of fun to mess around with different teams and combos, and a lot of the characters have these really intricate movesets that take advantage of how easy it is to execute moves in this game. It's a Metroidvania RPG for people who like the idea of fighting games. Either that's extremely your shit or it's extremely not. Okay, I'll be real. I kinda lied earlier when I said Unist was my game of the year 2018. Technically, it's Higurashi Chapter 6. It didn't technically come out in English for the first time in 2018, but I don't know, fuck you, it's my list, I can do what I want. And there's a lot I love about Higurashi. I could probably do an entire video just on that game. I mean, shit, I basically did before I deleted the whole thing. And a lot of it comes down to just the particulars of Ryukishi 07's writing style and his ability to manipulate the audience through the medium of the written word. And that narrative strength just keeps building and building until it culminates in a climax that's this weirdly political thing that's so strikingly confident in what it wants to be. And if Higurashi finishes at that level after slowly working its way there over 90 hours, Kikonia starts there. It just keeps going up. It's way longer than the first chapter of any other When They Cry game, and that's fine because it's got so much more it's trying to say. And maybe it's just because I played this hot off the first chapter of Umineko, but thank God Ryukishi finally made a game where it doesn't take 6 hours to actually get interesting. Call of Duty and I have a complicated relationship. I definitely thought I was cool as a kid, swearing off Call of Duty as something for bros while I played my weird JRPGs and tried to talk to people about them in the cafeteria. But like, you know, I was playing Modern Warfare 2, I was all over that shit. I like shooting video game guns, and the shooting of video game guns in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019 is pretty good. It kinda sucks that so many long, interesting narrative-based games came out this year, because every time I was doing those, I kind of just wanted to play Modern Warfare. It was kind of a weird decision to only put one gun in the game, but I mean, I'm not a game designer, so I don't know. Alright, I'm just gonna come clean about something. I think anime is pretty good. Listen, nobody's perfect. I also think Monster Hunter's a lot of fun, so when you tell me you're gonna take Monster Hunter and mash it together with some edgy anime bullshit, I'm like, alright, yeah, let's... okay. And God Eater is some of the edgiest anime bullshit I've ever seen in my life. It is dumb as hell. And 3 is probably the best one yet. As engaging as the story can be, it's a lot to take in if you're just getting into the series. But I mean, I've got a hammer that revs up like a motorcycle and turns into a shotgun, so, like, that's gotta count for something, right? Remedy has always been kind of an oddity in the industry for me. I've always respected them because it always feels like whatever they're making at the time is what they believe to be the coolest shit they've ever seen. But the things they chose to go for were just never the things I was super into. Then they decided to go and make SCP Half-Life, and it's like, yeah, alright guys, you got me. I am so in love with the style of this video game, which I'm sure you couldn't glean from the rest of this video. The font choices, the architecture, all that stuff has been talked about to death, and for good reason. It is all absolutely killer. The story's also really interesting. It's presented in this TV episode-like cadence, and picking apart the mystery of what happened in this facility is really engaging. It has one of the best moments of the year. You know which part I'm talking about. Even at its worst, Control is just dripping with love and care and attention to detail. It is amazing to me that a game with this level of production value is allowed to be as hyper-specific as it is. I said it before, they made SCP Half-Life. Who does that? Resident Evil has been what you could call troubled in the past. But the past couple of years have actually been really great to the series. 2017's RE7 was such a breath of fresh air. It was so smart in how it figured out how to find a setting and a sense of humor that was true to the series' roots while also being completely its own thing. It was also refreshing to see a game that took the back to basics lesson from PT seriously. Instead of just saying, fucking, I don't know, let's put him in a house with lots of depth of field and a ghost lady. But RE7 still definitely had this kind of cinematic point A to point B vibe that didn't really capture what everybody loved about the old Resident Evils. So then Resident Evil 2 Remake shambles around the corner and is like, hey guys, remember Cranks? Do you like our blood tech? Don't worry, we'll give you time to think about the answer to that question. It's this symphony of great sound design and atmosphere. So it's great, it's awesome. And I hope to God Capcom keeps this streak up because there are just not enough mainstream horror games anymore. Now let me tell you why they should give the RE2 remake treatment to Rule of Rose, okay? Check this shit out. There's a dog, and there's a blimp full of children, and they pour bugs on you.
Sup?
I think Kotaro Ichiko Shi gets me.
It is time to unleash the Drift King.
Didn't you crash a minute ago? Besides, the forklift is front-wheel drive.
I could probably just show a bunch of clips from AI the Somnium files for this entry, but I'm not gonna do that. I think you should play this game yourself. It's maybe the most Ichiko Shi thing in the world. It's whimsical, it's funny, it's depressing, it's horrifying.
Pew pew.
It's the first game I can think of in a long time that I stalled finishing because I didn't want it to be over. It's got murder, it's got conspiracy, it's got dad jokes.
You need to chill.
You need to get better jokes.
Oh, I understand. Chill, meaning both cold and relax. A pun intended.
Don't explain it, it's embarrassing.
I can make you one promise right now. I'm dumb as hell. Tactics games are usually way too much for me. So when Fire Emblem Awakening came out and everybody I knew was like, oh man, this game's so easy and it's just anime shit, I was like, ooh, yeah, whew, that sounds terrible. Oh, I would hate to play that game. But as I mentioned with Persona Q2, I cannot stick with portable games. So I didn't finish Awakening, and then Fates came and went, and I just sort of didn't even bother. And then they announced 3 Houses, and I was like, cool, yeah, that makes sense. They should totally put a Fire Emblem on the Switch. Of course, I had kind of written off the series at that point. And then the day before release, Austin Walker of Waypoint put out a review that mentioned briefly that they turned Fire Emblem into Persona. And I don't know how to describe to you the thing that happened in my brain. It wasn't excitement or resignation. I just had a thought go off in my brain that was, oh, well, I gotta buy that now. Like, that's gonna be my game of the year. And I bought it, and, oh yeah, I was right. I loved getting to know everybody in the monastery, having tea time, finding all the shit they just leave around for some reason. And I love how your perception changes with every route. It never feels like you're playing the bad guy. The soundtrack is great. I even like that the bulk of the story is told through support conversations instead of the actual plot. You're finding out about this war and the people in it by going to the people in it. I'm just gonna get this out of the way right here. Golden Deer for life, Felix is my husband, Dorothea is my wife, Lorenz, you're canceled, but yeah. It's the only game this year that I finished and then immediately went back and restarted without even hesitating. And even now, well after the 100-hour mark, I still get excited thinking about playing it. I really can't say that about any other game this year. And it's been a good year for games. There's tons of games this year that I've barely touched that I still really want to get back to. Outer Wilds and Disco Elysium are on top of that list right now. I'll probably get to them eventually. Or I'll just keep playing Fire Emblem. Maybe they'll put out more costume DLC, I don't know. It's like $20 for maid and butler outfits, which is crazy. Like, who would even buy that? Who would do that, right?